Thank you for tuning in. Welcome all Red Eyes members. It's nice that you're spending another hour with us as we are continuing our descent into the strange and bizarre world of pop culture with Ben Singleton from pseudoccultmedia.blogspot.com. And I've been thinking here during the break a little bit here, Ben, how it must be to keep a lot of this information flowing through, as it were. Isn't it kind of difficult watching it all, or just don't you get even tired and sick of it, or do you feel that it's affecting you in that way, or can you have a proper perspective and distance to it all? What do you think?
I think that, like I was saying before, it's the kind of thing you can't just stop taking some sort of enjoyment from these shows and these movies and all the music that's around you, because they've been so programmed into you as you grow up that it's impossible just even like think about how this may have screwed up your psychological makeup or whatever. So I'm not too worried about that. I tend to kind of have an attitude to it where like everything is probably kind of not so great, but at the same time you can't really feel the effect on you, so I don't really worry about those kind of things, which I probably should do more of, as you can probably tell, but
Well, okay, well it's good. Do you if we talk about the music, is that music that you generally listen to, some of the artists that we mentioned in the first hour, or are you on a totally different area?
Oh yeah, I don't like most of the the Rihanna stuff and everything. I'm more into the Radiohead kind of thing, but even in those bands, they have just as much mind control on them as well. For instance, there's one song, just remembering off the top of my head, called In Limbo by Radiohead, with the lyrics that go, I spiral down, trapdoors that open, and it's basically all about spiraling down and dissociating, and the trapdoors are the compartments where all the alters live, and you're spiraling down into madness, basically. You see the spiral used all the time in things like hypnosis, and just generally as things spiral out of control. And so I feel that is kind of connected with that.
Absolutely, and I like Radiohead a lot myself, and I think that one aspect to it all is also what's going on, outside the actual music, and that's again, we can look at the influence of many of these people as well, and that their opinions become many of the fans' opinions as well. I mean, I know that Radiohead is to the whole global warming issue and a lot of that stuff. It's much in the same way, how Bono is being used, for instance, and that's another aspect to mind control that is more kind of very, very obvious in a way, but that we might not be aware of also, that it's what they say, what they think, what they wear, stuff like that also affects us, and that's also something that many people who are fans kind of automatically adopt without running it through their critical filter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean people say like, oh, okay, so they're wearing Skull and Bones or something. I always wear Skull and Bones, so what does that matter to me? Like, people say that a lot, but the reason why they're wearing it is because their star that I'm writing about was wearing it in the first place. But they may not even realize that. But I do think that it is completely a result of it programs them so much into what they should think, what they should wear, even how they should think, even how they should, present themselves in general.
Yeah.
But it's insane, really.
If we go back a little bit and talk more about, we mentioned the first segment about Michael Jackson, for instance, about his abusive father as the potential origins of this disassociation that takes place at the first kind of initial steps of mind control. How about people like Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears? Do you think that that's something that is involved there as well?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you spoke with Freeman about all the products of the Mickey Mouse Club, and because they all came from that, which was basically where Justin Timberlake came from as well, along with Christina and Britney. And I remember you were talking about how they were all three of them were put up for awards, which just shows how it's basically their program stars are the only ones that ever get into awards. And also on the Mickey Mouse Club thing, I was just looking into the 33 Club,
yeah,
which you mentioned in that.
Yeah.
And I was just reading in the wiki page that they were speculating on why Walt Disney chose 33 for being the number, which is obviously, if you know about Freemasonry and the number 33 involved, 33rd degree Freemasonry and all that,
yes,
then it's obvious on that level. But it also says in the wiki page that perhaps it was chosen because 33 looks similar to an M&M, as in Mickey Mouse, which ties into the whole Marilyn Monroe, all the various M&Ms out there, Mickey Mouse, Magic Mirror, and I mean, off the top of my head, you can't remember them all, but there are so many of them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an interesting point, and I think that's a common thread, so to speak, throughout all this research, that symbols and everything is picked up by your unconscious mind on all different levels, meaning that if you see an MM, that can be interpreted as your brain as a WW or as a 33, or in whatever way or fashion you turn it. You can even mirror stuff as well. And
some victims, their minds are so scrambled that they'll actually see things backwards, they'll see things turned upright, and which can be used as triggers. And so it can literally go beyond that, especially when we're talking about victims here. And where they will actually see the MM as a 33, or they'll see the WW as an MM, and it will trigger something, if you get that idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I think the thing with the 33 is another aspect that you've been following also, of course. Again, classical thing, it pops up on T-shirts, in TV series and in films. It pops up here and there in one context or another.
Which is all perfectly innocent, of course.
Of course, as it always is. Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think the importance is? I mean, on the front though, like if we think about it, okay, what's the purpose for like giving out a Freemasonic number on a T-shirt like that? Do you think it is a trigger, or do you think that is something else behind the numerology?
I just think it's more of their kind of boredom. This is how they kind of communicate with each other. So they can see these things in the media and be like, oh yeah, we control her, if you know what I mean. For instance, using Elijah Dushku as one example, she's got the double-headed eagle of Albania, which is obviously ties into Freemasonry and the double-headed eagle involved in things like Eyes Wide Shut and other things. And she was also pictured wearing a 33 on her top. And I just think that if you connect that, especially if you think of Albert Pike's double-headed eagle, where it has a 33 at the top of the pyramid, and she's wearing a 33 on her front with a double-headed eagle on her back, although I don't think that tattoo was there at the same time as the 33. I just think they're just sort of ritualizing their victims, if that makes sense, so that they portray their symbols to the rest of the world.
I think it's absolutely. I think what you're trying to say, I guess, is that they're putting their mark on it. They're putting their, this is our turf. This is under our guise or our ownership, almost in a way.
Yeah, I mean, using as just a general kind of example from, undisputed reality, some human traffickers have tattooed their gang's symbols on their slaves to mark them, which is one example of this kind of thing working as a global. On a global scale, where they're all dressed up in various symbolic things, or they're all, singing various symbolic lyrics or whatever,
Absolutely. I'm thinking of MS-13. I think they're called apparently one of the most dangerous gangs around. They have prominent, an all-seeing eye over the pyramid type of symbols, and it's almost like, okay, what the crap is this? Is this the clash of civilizations that is sponsored by the top of the top portion of the pyramid here, and they've boldly put their own mark on these gangs, even. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the big, the really big criminals are the ones that are, who are the ones who haven't been caught, who are the ones making all the money, I think. And they are working with these various gangs and stuff, which is why you see their symbols all over them.
I think otherwise they would just be eradicated. I think, again, I think Jordan Maxwell had talked about that. If they can manage to catch, he talked about it in the context of Hitler and the Third Reich. If these governments can go together and catch one of the most powerful military machine ever built up, they didn't catch him, but they managed to destroy the Third Reich, as it were. They managed to do that. They can reach anyone they want to if they really want to have this stuff away from the streets, and if they want to catch these guys, they're going to do it, right? If the will is there, they're going to handle that. But that's the thing here. They want to keep it on that level that, oh no, it's so difficult to manage society. We have problems everywhere, and we
can't stop all these drugs being smuggled in.
There you go.
Even though they're the ones who are bringing in all the cocaine in, keeping everyone nicely, drugged and docile and everything.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a circus, all right, and
it's a big circus. I mean, that's why Britney's the head of the circus right now.
Okay, so what do you think there will potentially, do with her in that sense? I mean, many people talked, as me and Freeman talked about previously on the show, that this breakdown that she was having was a potential breakdown of her programming and so forth, but now they managed to, again, build her up to the...
Yeah, they've reprogrammed her. She's under the total control of her father now. And there's if you read some of the posts on Britney, you can see that her dad is extremely violent. Like, he held this one reporter guy, basically prisoner in his house for a few hours at knife point, which just shows you how violent and sociopathic some of these fathers of these stars are, who are ultimately abusing their children and being told how to abuse them by the government as part of the programming.
Oh, it's sick.
But as far as Britney goes nowadays, she's been massively built back up again. She's got all her music videos back up, and everything seems to be going well. Well, isn't that always just the way it happens? It seems to be going well, but then everything just spirals back down again.
Well, exactly.
And it just seems to me that she'll probably have another breakdown at age 30, and then she'll die, and then mind control will sort of almost be proven if that happens. Obviously, I really hope that it never happens.
Yeah.
Because these people need to be saved rather than, completing their
mission
program,
or whatever.
As it were, yeah. Their programmed mission.
So let's see here. I mean, there's this aspect of, murder again involved here. You've talked a little bit about, or written a little bit about the whole Manson thing again, Marilyn Manson, all that stuff, but even connecting that with the Manson, Charles Manson, and the entire, was it you who linked up the video with the Sharon Tate Dakota building information, or was that... No, that was probably Todd Campbell. I might be confusing things there, but anyway, there's a very interesting story behind the entire.
I did a big post called "In Shattered Dreams" on that, where I go into the Manson murders. I can't remember exactly what the information was off the top of my head, but there's loads. There's so much involved, especially with Polanski as well.
Yes,
who should really be in jail for having sex with a 13-year-old, but that the media seems to be on his side, which tells you a lot about the state of society right now. Because do you remember the Polanski episode where he was thrown out of America for abusing this child?
And it's
just crazy now that the media seems to be on his side. Like, they're making documentaries in support of him, and it's just a bit strange.
And this was, I think that... why can't I remember his name now? Nicolas Cage, his father was involved in this as well. Coppola, Francis Ford Coppola was involved in that as well.
Yeah, I mean, that just shows you again, Nicolas Cage, Francis Ford Coppola, they're all related. Hollywood is extremely incestuous, metaphorically and literally. Yes, it's really kind of a horrible place, but it looks so beautiful. It's all about illusion, making you think it's the promised land where you should go and worship all their stars at the movies, which I almost think synchromysticism is kind of evolving into.
Yeah.
And which I'm not sure is a good thing entirely, when considering how much evil is behind it.
And ultimately, what do you think? It's up to people to stop consuming this type of entertainment?
I don't know, because it's hard to get